Good day, ma'am. I am Lance De Leon, together with my groupmate Abigail Malang, and we will discuss our case study on ABC pharmaceuticals industry. So to start, we will first tackle the industry analysis and by starting the industry description and overview. So in the Philippines, the pharmaceutical industry has been stable for the past decades and is more likely to keep it up for the next few years as there are 1,813 active companies that are currently operating in the country. The market competition is strong as the market is heavily populated since there are plenty of pharmaceutical companies that have been in the industry for a long time and have been popular even across different countries. That's why new entrants are challenged to compete against established firms unless they produce a new drug that will be more effective than the current ones available in the market at an affordable cost. The state government, more particularly the PhilHealth, approved the use of generic medicines because there are patients that are well informed on what is currently happening and tend to be more vocal and demanding about the name of the brand and the effectiveness of the medicine. This served as a motivation for existing pharmaceutical companies to produce more medicines that will be more effective and have faster results. But at the same time, the cost will be affordable to the majority of the uh, population. Next is the external forces using pest model analysis. So here are the definitions of each element in pest analysis, which are political, economical, social, and technological. Political determines the extent to which government and government policy may impact an organization or a specific industry. The economical is the one that have an impact on the economy and its performance, which in turn directly impacts on the organization and its profitability. Social focuses on the social environment and identify the emerging trends. And lastly, technological is the rate of technological innovation and development that could affect a market or an industry. So we list down several factors in each element. First is the political. In the political, it is stated in the study that the government allows the local generic medicine manufacturers to test, produce, and register their generic versions of patented drugs. Also, the generic drugs received a considerable boost from the state government or the PhilHealth insurance. Lastly, the patients and hospital have become focused on maximizing the value of the government allocation of funds for each particular treatment. In the economical, the Philippine economy is in favor of the generic medicines, so existing competitors can have high returns in profit if they produce a drug that is very effective at an affordable price. The demand for generic medicines has increased because of its cheaper price than the branded medicines. With the continuous need for medicine, customers look for alternatives that are effective as the commodity prices continue to increase as well. And lastly, medical representatives use a competitively lower price against competitors, and this served as their edge against their other companies. For the social, ABC company expanded their operations and locations uh, to other countries such as Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Kenya, and Brazil. With the increasing aging population, It offers a range of opportunities in the pharmaceutical industry as the demand for the medicine also increases. Next, well-informed patients are prepared to ask for drugs by name and are becoming increasingly vocal, well-informed, and demanding. Because of this, the patients and home carers are becoming more informed as well. Lastly, the people's expectations have changed as they have become more demanding in terms of the effectiveness of the medicine. Lastly, for technological, ABC Company entered their first uh, licensing deal for discovering R&D for ugly Milas, their CPID asthma molecule. With the implementation of performance management system, it is not only to monitor the medical representatives, but also the performance of the managers and staff in their headquarters. They also use some sort of sales monitoring system for the monitoring and approval of their transactions and observe their overall performance of their sales and their sales force. Lastly, for technological, a management information system is used to keep tracks of their transactions and their other important informations.
Now, for the third method to be used in our industry analysis is Porter's five forces model. This will help us to see the company's present market position, which will be a factor in analyzing the Philippine pharmaceutical industry's competitiveness. The given subject, ABC Company Pharmaceutical Ltd, has already been introduced in the overview, but let me repeat some facts so you can have a better understanding of the analysis. The company is a known brand among customers due to how they can provide quality generic medicine products at a cheap price. In their headquarters here in the Philippines, it can be seen that we have a dense pharmaceutical market as we have about 1,813 pharmaceutical companies wherein it is combined of other established and well-known brands. This is backed up by the fact that the Philippine pharmaceutical industry has seen a steady and continuous growth in terms of its profitability, especially that existing customers, like our subject, have a high return of investment if they produce a drug or product at an affordable price. From this, we can say that the first force or threat of new entrants or potential rivals is strong, as potential competitors are looking at the industry and see that even though it is a packed one, they can still have an assurance of a steady or good profit. Now that I introduced a general market atmosphere, let me talk about the bargaining power of suppliers and buyers. Through the stated facts, we can put this at an average level and explain it with a question. How can the company keep up their supply to answer customer demand? So first of all, let me go into specific details as seen in the case study. We, we know that the company can establish their own manufacturing facilities as they started with the ones in Maharashtra and Goa, yet it cannot guarantee a steady supply, especially that we are talking about their headquarters here in the Philippines and the Philippine pharmaceutical industry. Next is they have licensing deals with laboratories for specific drugs only, but we don't know the location of these laboratories, so we cannot You utilize this for the analysis as it has little to no influence for us. Another is, it has been mentioned that the Philippine government allows local manufacturers to produce the generic version of branded medicine once the patents expire. This means that if you have a patent still existing, you need to ask for the permission of who created it, and maybe you would pay them some money so you can use it. So if the patents expire and there are no details regarding about the ban of reproduction without the patent, then they can do this and the government can allow it because it is not permissible by any law. So with all these facts, you can combine it with the demand of customers are always looking for the cheaper yet effective alternative. Why is that? Because customers nowadays are better informed about medicine or drugs because they can ask for it by name for the need for the specific purpose of it. So with the influence of they can create their own manufacturing facility, but there are local manufacturers who are allowed to produce the generic versions of branded medicine. It tells us that the bargaining power of suppliers is just at an average level because ABC Company is a steady strong competitor. We know that as they have a well-known brand, but an existing issue really can displace their position. This issue is from the question that I talked about before is they are lacking in a guaranteed steady supply. With the continuous demand of doctors and the general population for cheaper and innovative products, I can say this because with the stated general facts about where they get their product, you cannot really tell that if can they keep up with the demand or not. So you put it at an average level. For the bargaining power of buyers, it is at an average level because we cannot say that the other companies really produces the products that the pharmaceutical company, our subject, produces. So they you cannot really say that they can easily switch or they don't need you. But it is an average level as we know that there is really an increasing need for the cheaper and effective medicine. And the market demand is not really growing slowly or just at a constant, but is constantly growing at a steady and high rate. So now that we have analyzed the bargaining power of suppliers, the bargaining power of buyers, and the threat of new entrants, we can go to the fourth force, which is the threat of substitute product or services. For me, I I set it as weak because we cannot really tell if they produce the same product or they are a smaller version wherein they just offer these products because the company, our subject, has research really for the medicines, but we cannot say with the other companies. And we have a doctor franchise, so there is just there's just no comparison, definite comparison for them. So the threat of substitute products or services is at a weak level because you cannot compare the subject at most to the general pharmaceutical company idea. We cannot say if they're small, medium, average level, how much is their budget for that, and so now that the four forces are stated and their levels, we can say that the rivalry among existing competitors can be said at a high level. As I mentioned, we can dissolve the influence of threat of substitute products or services, yet as we discussed earlier, the market is so enticing to potential competitors. So it means that your rivals will just increase and increase. So you need to redefine the strategy and objectives in order to keep your place in the market. Also, we know that the bargaining power of suppliers and the bargaining power of buyers is has a heavy influence over the company's competitiveness due to how the buyer is already there with their demand, but we cannot say about the supply or the bargaining power of suppliers. So, all in all, the Porter's Five Forces model shows us that even with a well known and well established brand, just like ABC Company Pharmaceutical Ltd., we cannot say that they are perfect. Their brand still needs to adjust their competitive strategy according to the market because we can maybe it's not fit to the goals and objectives that is for the customers of the Philippine market. Also, I will mention that the company needs to establish local or near-reach manufacturing facilities, have proper specific teams for certain markets, and a better supply chain. If they can update their strategy to fit the situation and what works for them, we can minimize possible large loss and keep the name of the company as a steady, strong competitor in the industry. Now, for the fourth part of our industry analysis is external forces impact to the five forces. All the preceding statements, we familiarize ourselves with the general background of the industry, what's the place of ABC Company in the Philippine pharmaceutical market, and how can we say that this is not affected by other factors. So with this, we need to analyze how these external forces can change the game of the five forces we just discussed beforehand. To do this, we need to understand the relationship of the internal and external factors because they really affect one another consistently. So these two, if you cannot see the relationship, it could really be a great downfall for the company, or if you see the relationship and you can utilize it for your strength, then it could be a great save for the company. First of all, let us start with how pestle, political, economic, socio-cultural, technological, environmental, and legal factors affects the threat of the potential entry. From a legal, political, environmental, and technological point of view, it can be seen that the factors could decrease the entry of new competitors. The reasoning for this is very simple. These factors have the power to put up the barriers of entry at a higher level. Why is that? For legal and political factors, they could make the requirements much harder for you to establish your own pharmaceutical company, as a pharmacy provides medicine that could poison someone or save a life. For the environmental and technological factors, we can say that these factors can increase the capital requirements needed to join the industry. Why is that? So, to understand this, let me give an example. An example could be the technological factors wherein a competition is strong, like our company, and they want to continuously innovate, make the job easier, be much more efficient, and it could be done with technology. This could force a standard in producing products, especially you are producing medicine, so you need the perfect mix and match of raw materials. So it could really become a standard. So if this becomes a standard with the need for specific yet expensive technological machines, the new competition will not dare to enter the market, as they don't know if they could return the investment for the machines at a given time period. Lastly is the social cultural factor and economic factors. These two differ as they can increase the threat of new entrants. Why is this? As we all know, the Philippine economy is in favor of generic medicines which are highly produced by the company itself. So, if the economy is favorable for this setting, then the competitors will just come in. And for the social cultural factor, in the Philippines, there is a large population where it's aging or they need more medicine for maintenance, for other illnesses and such. So, for social cultural, we will put it at the power they can increase the threat of new entry. For the second part, we have the supplier side or the bargaining power of suppliers. The factors of political, social-cultural, technological, and environmental has no effect on it. Why is that? Let us remember, if we are talking about the suppliers, we ask the question of how much influence does a supplier have over one's business? Social, cultural, and technological can be removed due to how it is outside of the control of the suppliers and their relationship with the company. Why is that? For technological, do consumers really care that far on the relationship of suppliers and the company? And for social cultural, sure, having that aging population rise, increase in demand, it will have an effect on the supplier. But we cannot say, as there are several factors that goes with it, that we cannot really let it be a influencing factor. Next is political. Political is removed due to how simple ordinances or a government's issuance is very limited to how a company shall operate. And I remember that this case does not state facts on where the Philippine headquarters of the company gets their products, so there's very little to no influence. Next is the environmental. Environmental is all about waste management, having projects to care for the environment and others, but it cannot really influence the power of suppliers. Same thinking with how technological goes with. Does the consumer really care that far? If they are getting their supplies from from a manufacturer outside manufacturer, would they care? And if the company is doing the manufacturing of products on their own, will they care or will they look upon it, or they will just give importance that I receive cheap and effective products? So now let's talk about the factors that has an influence. For economic, economic plays a big role for the bargaining power of suppliers. As we all know, and it has been mentioned, that the Philippine economy is in favor of generic medicines that the company gives gives its consumers and produces on their own. So we could say that if the Philippine economy is in favor of generic medicines, this could cause a drop in price for raw materials, making supply more abundant, not hard to find, which can make low switching costs and more easy. It could make it could make the company switch easily if they have several outside manufacturers. So if it is the bargaining power of suppliers, it weakens because it makes substitutes much easier to find. Then, then legal, it can increase the bargaining power of suppliers as legal is already a law, is already there, it's already implemented. So legal can increase the bargaining power of suppliers because it will limit what is available, especially that we are talking about medicine that is ingested by people. So they can make people they can make suppliers much weary to produce their own because they have to follow this several laws. It's a headache. It can cost them money and so on. So we can say that legal makes the bargaining power of suppliers increase because the company could not switch easily, or the company sees that manufacturing their own is costly due to all the needed factors and several requirements due to the legal laws. So it increases. Now for the third one, we have the bargaining power of buyers. So we have two factors that has no effect on it, technological and legal. Now, technological reasoning has a very similar one to the supplier side, but it differs to how the buyer doesn't put importance due to the statement of how they're looking at the medicine's effectiveness and price only, as mentioned before. Now, for the legal side, it has no power because from what I know and what I searched, that the laws present here in the Philippines only protects the buyer's right to buy quality manufactured medicine. Now, we all know economics really plays a big role for both parties, bargaining power of buyers and bargaining power of suppliers, but it has a different effect on them. So, it was mentioned that the Philippine economy is in favor of generic medicines, making a drop of raw materials price. So, the suppliers have to make some adjustments because competition will be high as I can switch. But for buyers, if the economy is in favor of generic medicines, then they can have the power to also switch to a much more affordable alternative in terms of the product, not the raw materials. So they can switch, just like the suppliers. The company can easily switch suppliers. So it decreases for them. For the buyers, it increases as the company will, oh my gosh, where the buyers are removing themselves from the company. They are buying with our rival. So it's increasing. So for social, cultural, and environmental factors, we know that this is about increasing. So for social cultural, we all know that the population here in the Philippines is in favor of producing products of medicines due to how they need maintenance and such of our senior citizens. And environmental has an effect here because they might care about the company's whereabouts in terms of their knowledge, if the harmful substances used to produce the product is removed is what do you call this? It's removed. It's the waste is properly disposed of. So they could care because we are looking at the company now. Now for the legal side, it has no effect. As I mentioned, it's about protecting the buyers, right? But political could have another story as it is about the buyers. They could adjust certain point of suppliers that they could make these ordinances, make the products cheaper, make the products easier to get by. So it could make the market atmosphere favorable for the consumers. Now that we have discussed the forces that has much more detail, we can go into the more simpler one, which is the force of threat of substitute products or services. Now we can see that political, economic, social, cultural, technological, and legal has the power to increase the threat of substitute products or services. Why is that? It can make the market favorable for everyone. It can make the market much easier as they could decrease the price of products, they could produce products easier, as it's just like a a twist and turn of what was mentioned before because we are looking at the bigger picture. So all of that is turned around. And if the market is favorable, customers can be easily stolen and they can not look at your company the same way anymore because they will see, oh, I have so much alternatives to come to. Now, for the environmental, it is a decrease because, as the word says, it's substitute product or services. Would does it really have a big effect on the environment? Do they care about if your suppliers are doing this, if the company is doing that for the environment? Then they don't really have the power, but they can influence the thinking of the customer. So it is a decreasing one. We have the last force, the rivalry among existing competitors. The rivalry among existing competitors considers the four forces together. So we can observe that it is similar to the threat of substitute products or services. As we mentioned before, the market is favorable for all competitors. So the rivalry increases because you need to make yourself stand out from these alternatives that the customers can easily get to. Now, for the environment, it doesn't really increase the rivalry, but it can have the power to decrease, as mentioned, because the general process followed by the company in making their products can change the thinking of the customer about them. So it has that influence in decreasing the rivalry because customers will not be looking at a company who throws their waste in the sea the same way anymore.
Next, we will proceed with the business analysis. And to start, we will discuss the business description and its overview. So, ABC Company Pharmaceuticals is an international company that was established in 1977. Due to their specializations on branded generic medicines, their business has grown, adding more branches in Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Kenya, and to Brazil. They have expanded their market line to the dermatology market industry 2 years after they were established. and started to sell their products overseas in the year 1980. They have become prominent internationally and received several awards such as the Indian Innovator Pharmaceutical Company of the Year in the 2010 of Frost and Sullivan Award, Best Company Across Emerging Markets in 2011, and Best Overall Pipeline in 2011 as well by Script. ABC Company thrives in the pharmaceutical industry due to their expertise in the market. Having a good knowledge on the current trends is the market and its demand is not enough to forecast the future progress of a company. Therefore, ABC Company uses an annual forecasting plan that is adjusted on a monthly basis and based on the demands of the current trends in the market. Because of their strategy, all of their enterprises are gearing towards excellence. They seek to develop their employees' maximum capability by building their skills in the company to be more competent. ABC Pharmaceuticals offer drug distribution to other countries as a part of their services via their medical representatives. With that said, with the continuous demand for medicines and increase in the prices of products, ABC is known in the pharmaceuticals industry with one of the with one has the economical prices of their medicines. This strategy strengthens the company's selling skills. Uh, this also benefit not only the customers but the doctors as well. ABC is also successful in the doctors franchise as they know what as they know the type of doctors they are supplying and the drugs that the doctors need. This is also one of their edge in increasing their sales against their competitors.
So now for the first part of the business analysis of ABC Company Pharmaceuticals Ltd is the use of McKinsey's 7S framework for the analysis. The McKinsey 7S framework was developed by the McKinsey Consultancy Group, wherein seven interrelated factors are used to help the company assess their strengths and weaknesses. These are composed of shared values, skill, staff, strategy, structure, style, and system. It is categorized into hard and soft skills wherein these skills differs from how capable the organization can fix these traits. So now let's move on to what are the 7S of the company. So the 7S for this company. So the company tells us that they are knowledgeable about the market and its demand. Why so? Because the strategy that they follow is that they are research based, which gives them an edge over the company. Why is that? As their structure is a multinational company and they are a well known and established brand that they became a multinational company. So they need to keep their game up. So after this is systems. So after this is systems to have that easy and accessible communication between a large company, they need to have systems in place, which is good for this company as they have three systems and one of them is performance management system. As now we have discussed why the company has these skills, why these skills are followed, and so forth, how can they really prove themselves? So, the staff should be knowledgeable about what they are promoting and what they are selling. So, an example is the medical representatives hired by this company is degree holders in relevant fields such as science and marketing. So now we have given an overview of what the company can bring to the table. So how do they differ from their competitors? So one is the style. So the company has managers that directly interacts with the consumers, especially with the doctor franchise, as they want to create a trusted and built relationship. So it shows the employees under them that this 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 is the right thing to do. So now that we have discussed the skill, strategy, structure, system, staff, and style, it all goes around back to the shared values. Why is that? As mentioned, the company gives importance to integrating the organization's shared values throughout everyone with proper training and assessments for performance. By doing this, the company is keeping their employees motivated due to how they are rewarded, how they are said, good job, so they can achieve together the company's goal of becoming an integrated, research-based global pharmaceutical company. So, from the looks of it, it's perfect. But no, nobody is perfect. They have gaps that everyone really can see. So, as mentioned, the company gives importance to creating a team culture as they want to be a family that everyone knows. But it is not enough. Why is that? The management themselves see that their delivery of the shared values is not working because the employees are not really initiating themselves and understanding this, but they are only seeing this in the light that they are working for the company. Next is next is about the skills and staff. So you have mentioned that the staff should be knowledgeable, but the company largely focuses on the sales aspect. So the employees who are involved in sales gets the training, gets the assessment, gets the detailed exams for their performance. But the managers are lacking in proper background in managing the company, the employees. So we see the focus is beyond everyone, but only on this sales aspect. Then next is that the skill is they are knowledgeable about the market and its demand, but they have inventory issues due to their trust in an annual forecasting plan which has large variations. It can be related to what have I said before about the company facing issues about having a guaranteed supply. So now you have mentioned about the issues. We all know that the company needs to update what they have been doing for the past few years as they only focus on sales. They are knowledgeable, but there is an existing issue, so they need to upgrade their strategy. They really need to redefine it as maybe they are not efficient or they are just the focus is gone. They need to really see how can they have a strategy that answers every issue that doesn't leave anything out.
Lastly, for the business analysis is the SWOT analysis. So here's the definition again of the SWOT. First one is the strength. It can be identified by asking the advantages of the organizations has and what is their unique selling position is. For the weakness, it would include what the organization could do to improve what is to avoid, and what factors ultimately loses their sales. For the opportunity, it identifies what good opportunities are open to the business. Some of it will come from the organization's strength. And threats, it identifies the threats that the company might face right now with what the competitors are doing. So based on the study, we listed down several strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of ABC company. So for the strengths, the Philippine economy is in favor of generic medicines, so it will be their advantage. Uh, they flourishes in selling their products to doctors as they know who they are and what they want. The Philippine headquarters has a drug distribution service throughout the company by medical representatives and offering prescriptions. A commonality is in the country. The medical representatives establish better deals with distributors, lowering the offered price compared to competitors. Next is the company uses sufficient systems that can help in proper communication and tracking of information and performance. They also have an assessment to see the current performance of their employees in regards to the sales. Lastly, medical representatives have funds on training with the managers. For the weaknesses, we have identified that insufficient number of medical representatives and district managers could be their disadvantage. Lack of sufficient training for managers is also another one. Large variances in the annual forecast makes it unreliable, causing issues in their supply. Another weakness is that the joint visits, assessments, and other methods in dealing with gaps and competence does not happen throughout the company. It only focused on the sales force. And lastly, the company's shared values are not truly understood and followed by all of the employees. Only some understood it. The opportunities of ABC Company is one, the Philippine pharmaceutical industry has seen a consistent growth in becoming a profitable market. Also, the aging population continuously increasing in numbers, and this opens a new opportunity for existing and new entrants. Effective and affordable medicines have a high return in profit. As said, this is their edge against other competitors. Ongoing practically trend of customers in favoring cheaper yet effective medicines. The company's products are recognized by doctors and said to be better than the innovative brands or the patented and that are subsequently more expensive. Sorry. And lastly, ABC Company builds their employees' competence against other businesses in the industry, which makes which makes most of their activities gearing towards excellence. And for the possible threats of ABC Company, the Philippine pharmaceutical sector is dense and highly competitive with 1,813 active firms that are a mix of known and well-established brands. Also, the consumers are well informed and aware about the effectiveness of certain drugs by its name. A possible change in government's rules and regulations can also be a problem, and a possible decline in the national income that may result in economic contraction uh, can also be a threat to the company.
Reach to our conclusion. We have analyzed the industry and we have analyzed the company itself. So, what is the final answer we have been looking for? As mentioned, the company is a well-established brand and they are a strong competitor in a very dense market, but they have put too much focus on their sales, on selling the product, on promoting the product, and so forth because they know they excel in sales to the general population and doctor franchise because they have cheap products and substitute school is not easy to come by because we can say that they offer so much range due to how they are research based but due to how other factors are not given importance such as proper training to managers and how they are lacking in a well equipped strategy for keeping their supply in a manageable level to the increasing demand that these causes several weaknesses for them. It is same with sales because sales as I mentioned they thrive in the franchise of selling their products. This created the strengths for them. But with this two, put two and two together, a lot of opportunity is put to waste that these opportunities could be utilized for a bigger profit, for creating a stronger position, that they could be untouchable, that no one could compete with them, that they can offer better products, well assurance with their customers that they wouldn't have stock outs, they will always have the product ready for the customers, and so many more. All in all, even though you are a well-established brand and strong competitor, your focus should be the overall growth of the company, not only making money. Because if you focus on making money, even though you see progress, the progress is always increasing. The threats or the weaknesses is always increasing with it. So all in all, with this, the company needs to create a new strategy, objective, and goals for the company, as this strategy of theirs is causing issues for them that is really not a fit for them as of now, especially in their headquarters for different countries.